Initial incursion into human space resulted in a diplomatic incident. Krosoth suppressed a tremor in his left shoulder plates. Most Exalted One, the humans are unpredictable. Our tactical simulations could not have. Silence, bellowed Counselor Vrok, his ceremonial war crests fully extended. 3 of our stealth cruisers, each equipped with disintegration cannons capable of reducing a small continent to cosmic dust. And you are standing here telling me they were disabled by what was it again? Krosoth wished desperately that the floor would open and eject him into the vacuum of space. It would be quicker. A beverage, Most Exalted One. A deadly silence fell over the chamber. Explain, hissed Mvala. The humans call it coffee, Most Exalted. According to our analysis, when their defense outpost detected our stealth field, the human operator, apparently half asleep, spilled this liquid substance onto their primitive control console, causing an unexpected power surge that generated a counter-resonance wave. This wave inverted our ship's primary shield matrices and locked all weapon systems into diagnostic mode. Counselor Vrok's eye stalks twisted into what Krosoth recognized as the expression of someone trying not to laugh. It didn't help his case. And the humans' response? Asked Mvala, her tone dangerously soft. They hailed us on an open frequency and asked if we needed a tow. Vrok's chest sacs inflated to nearly double their normal size. A tow? Like some broken transport vehicle? Our Apex-class invasion cruisers. Yes, Most Exalted. And when Admiral Zak refused their offer, they sent a gift basket with a handwritten apology for the inconvenience. This time Counselor Vrok couldn't contain a short burst of whistling laughter, which she quickly disguised as a respiratory malfunction. Enough! Mvala slammed all 6 of her ceremonial scepters onto the council table. This mockery cannot stand. The Vazrathi Empire has conquered 97 star systems, and we have obliterated civilizations that dared to resist. We have reduced planets to rubble for less than this insult. Krosoth nodded solemnly. I completely agree, Most Exalted One. Which is why I propose a different approach. Our technological advantage has been compromised. The humans appear to have defenses we do not understand, possibly through sheer accident and incompetence. But there is one arena where our superiority remains unquestioned. The council members leaned forward, suddenly interested. Physical combat, Krosoth continued. Our warriors are bred for battle, genetically enhanced over thousands of generations. The average Vazrathi soldier can lift 10 times their body weight, survive in vacuum for up to 6 hours, and has reflexes faster than most species' neural impulses. Mvala's top eyes narrowed. You propose a challenge by ancient combat? Precisely, Most Exalted. According to our intelligence, humans still honor such traditions, calling them duels of honor or championship bouts. We challenge them to send their greatest warrior against ours. When our champion inevitably triumphs, their military will be demoralized, their population terrified. Our invasion fleet can then move in with minimal resistance. And if they refuse the challenge? Asked Vrok. Krosoth's mouth flaps curled into what humans might recognize as a smile. Then their entire communications network will broadcast their cowardice to their own population. Either way, we win. Mvala considered this for exactly 7.3 seconds. Krosoth counted, before nodding. Very well. Who shall we send as our champion? There can be only one choice, Most Exalted, said Grand Executor Gilarax. A collective gasp echoed through the chamber. Even Counselor Vrok looked shaken. The Bloodrinker? The Void Scourge? You would unleash him upon a species we barely understand. I would, Most Exalted. Gilarax has defeated the champion warriors of 27 species. He has slain 3 extinct-level predators with his bare hands. His very name causes cardiac arrest in susceptible species. Mvala's expression darkened. Very well. Summon Grand Executor Gilarax from the warrior Kretch. Let us show these humans the true might of the Vazrathi Empire. The coffee incident. 3 solar days later, Krosoth stood on the command deck of the diplomatic vessel Final Mercy, watching as they approached the designated coordinates in neutral space. The humans had accepted the challenge with disturbing enthusiasm, responding to the formal declaration within minutes with a message that simply read, "Hell yeah, let's do this." Gilarax towered beside him, 14 feet of armor-plated muscle, bone spurs, and concentrated rage. The Grand Executor's skin pulsed with the bioluminescent patterns that indicated battle readiness, glowing ominous purple against his charcoal-gray exoskeleton. "These humans," rumbled Gilarax, his voice so deep that the command deck's instruments vibrated in sympathy. "Tell me of their weaknesses." Krosoth gestured to the holographic display. "They are soft-bodied mammals, Grand Executor. No natural armor, limited regenerative capabilities, only 2 arms, no venom sacs. Their skeleton is internal and surprisingly brittle. Their skin can be damaged by moderate temperature variations. They require constant hydration and oxygen. Their visual spectrum is pathetically limited." Gilarax's primary battle claw extended to its full 3-foot length, the serrated edge gleaming under the ship's lights. "Such frail creatures have no business among the stars. It will be a mercy to end them quickly." "Indeed, Grand Executor. However, I must advise caution. The humans have survived encounters that should have annihilated them. There may be factors we do not fully understand." Gilarax's secondary mouthparts twisted into what passed for amusement. "You speak of their luck, Commander? I do not believe in such superstition. Only strength, skill, and the will to dominate matter in combat." "Of course, Grand Executor," Krosoth replied, even as his third heart clenched with uncertainty. "The human vessel approaches," announced the tactical officer. On the main screen, a small ship appeared. Chunky, asymmetrical, and adorned with what appeared to be decorative lights shaped like what humans called palm trees. The vessel was labeled, Party Barge, in garish lettering. "This is their warship?" Gilarax sounded personally offended. "It's not what our intelligence suggested they would send," admitted Krosoth, scanning. Now the tactical officer looked up from his console, confusion evident in the rapid blinking of his sensory nodes. "Commander, I'm detecting only a single human life form aboard, and large quantities of ethanol-based beverages." Before Krosoth could respond, the communication system chimed. "Incoming transmission, audio only," announced the communications officer. "Put it through," ordered Krosoth. A human voice, rough and strangely slurred, filled the command deck. "Yo, alien dudes. Staff Sergeant Jack Murphy reporting as requested. Sorry about the ride, all the official transports were booked for some diplomatic thing on Mars, so I had to borrow my buddy's party barge. We cool to do this thing or what?" Gilarax turned all 4 of his primary eyes toward Krosoth. "Is this some kind of insult? They sent a single warrior in a pleasure craft." Krosoth felt his stomach acids churning with apprehension. "Grand Executor, perhaps. I will destroy this mockery of a champion and hang his spine from my trophy wall." Gilarax thundered. "Prepare the boarding shuttle."
30 minutes later, Krosoth stood in the observation gallery overlooking the ship's ceremonial combat arena. The space had been modified to approximate Earth's standard gravity and atmosphere, a courtesy that Gilarax had grudgingly accepted after Krosoth pointed out that killing a human who had suffocated due to atmospheric incompatibility would hardly be glorious. The human's vessel had docked, and security footage showed him staggering through the airlock wearing what appeared to be casual attire, cargo shorts and a garment with the words Spring Break 2023, "What happens in Vegas, stays in Vegas," emblazoned across it. When the doors to the arena slid open, Krosoth got his first direct look at humanity's champion. Staff Sergeant Jack Murphy was average height for a human, meaning he stood nearly 5 feet shorter than Gilarax. His hair was cut short on the sides but disheveled on top. His eyes were bloodshot with dark circles beneath them. He carried a large disposable cup with a straw, from which he periodically sipped. "Whoa," said Murphy, looking up, way up, at Gilarax. "They really grow you guys big, huh? Nice spikes and stuff." Gilarax's battle stance faltered momentarily in confusion. "Human, I am Grand Executor Gilarax, the Bloodrinker, the Void Scourge, destroyer of the Paxian Horde. I have come to challenge you in honorable combat as the champion of the Vizrai Empire." Murphy took a long sip from his drink. "Yeah, about that. So, funny story. I was actually just supposed to deliver the message about who our real champion was going to be, but there was this bachelor party last night for Lieutenant Kowalski, great guy, getting married next month, and things got a little crazy." Next thing I know, I'm waking up in the Admiral's hot tub with this assignment briefing taped to my chest and a shuttle departure time that was like 20 minutes away. He rubbed his temple, still nursing one hell of a hangover. Krosoth felt his blood pressure spike to dangerous levels. Was this human actually suggesting he wasn't even their intended champion? That they'd sent whoever happened to be available, and intoxicated no less? Jillarax seemed equally bewildered. You dare to face me in combat while suffering from voluntary poisoning? Murphy shrugged. Look, big guy, I didn't exactly volunteer for this, but I'm a Marine, and when duty calls, you answer. Even if duty has really bad timing and no respect for the sanctity of Tequila Tuesday. He set down his drink and stretched, wincing slightly. So, how do we do this? There's some kind of alien referee or something? Combat begins. From his observation post, Krosoth frantically signaled to the arena master to begin the formal proceedings. A booming ceremonial horn sounded, causing Murphy to clutch his head in apparent pain. Jesus, warn a guy next time. My head feels like there's a jackhammer convention going on in there. The arena master's voice echoed throughout the chamber. This combat shall continue until one champion yields or is rendered incapable of continuing. Lethal force is authorized but not required. Medical intervention will be provided if possible. Combat begins at the third horn. Murphy looked around blurrily. Wait, what? Lethal force? Hold up! The first horn blared. No, seriously, I think there's been a miscommunication here. The second horn sounded. Murphy frantically patted his pockets and pulled out what appeared to be a small communication device. Let me just call my commander real quick. The third horn blasted through the arena. Jillarax let out a battle cry that shattered several observation panels and launched himself at the human with terrifying speed, battle claws extended, venom sacs fully pressurized. What happened next would be analyzed, debated, and eventually classified at the highest levels of Vizrathi military intelligence. Murphy, seemingly operating on pure instinct, ducked, not in the calculated way of a trained warrior, but in the desperate manner of someone who has just realized they are in mortal danger while severely compromised. As he ducked, his hand shot out to grab his drink, apparently prioritizing it over his own safety. This unpredictable movement caused Jillarax, who had calibrated his attack for a standing opponent, to miss entirely. The Grand Executor's momentum carried him forward, his massive body sailing over the human and crashing into the arena wall with enough force to crack the reinforced alloy. Before Jillarax could recover, Murphy, still clutching his drink, rolled to the side and stumbled to his feet. Okay, I get it now, you guys are serious. Serious about this, he called out, backing away as Jillarax extracted himself from the Jillarax-shaped dent in the wall. Look, can we maybe talk about this? I'm really not at my best today and you seem like you've got a lot of pointy parts that could do some damage. Jillarax roared and charged again, this time adjusting his trajectory to account for the human's erratic movement. His primary battle claw swept forward in an arc that should have disemboweled Murphy instantly. Instead, Murphy tripped over his own feet while backing up, falling flat on his back. The battle claw passed harmlessly overhead. Murphy's drink, however, went flying, its contents arcing through the air and splashing directly into Jillarax's four primary eyes. The Grand Executor screamed in what appeared to be genuine agony, his claws frantically wiping at his eyes. My vision spheres. They burn. Oh, sorry. That was like 50% vodka, 50% energy drink. Murphy called out, genuinely apologetic. That's gotta sting. Krosoth stared in horror. Their mightiest warrior, temporarily blinded by a human recreational beverage. This couldn't be happening. But it was only beginning.
The combat continued for another 17 minutes, following the same inexplicable pattern. Every calculated attack by Jillarax was inadvertently countered by Murphy's combination of hangover-induced clumsiness, marine combat training operating at a subconscious level, and what could only be described as outrageous fortune. When Jillarax deployed his poison tail, Murphy bent down to tie his shoe. When the Grand Executor activated his sonic disruptor implants, Murphy was momentarily distracted by something shiny on the ground and had wandered out of the effective range. When Gilarax finally managed to corner the human against the arena wall, Murphy's stomach, apparently still processing the previous night's excesses, chose that exact moment to rebel. The resulting biological event caused even Gilarax, veteran of 1,000 bloody battles, to back away in disgust. As the fight approached the 20-minute mark, Gilarax was bleeding from multiple self-inflicted wounds, the result of missed attacks, suffering from exposure to not one but 3 different human compounds that turned out to be unexpectedly toxic to Vizrai physiology, and most damaging to his fearsome reputation, beginning to look ridiculous. Through it all, Murphy continued to apologize, attempt to call for timeouts, and generally behave like someone who had stumbled into the wrong room at a convention center rather than a champion warrior fighting for the fate of his species. And in the observation gallery, Commander Krosoth realized with growing dread that they had made a terrible mistake. The humans hadn't sent a hungover Marine by accident. They had sent him on purpose. Because somehow, they knew exactly what would happen. Krosoth's realization hit him like a gravitational collapse. The humans hadn't made a mistake. They had calculated this outcome with terrifying precision. "Terminate the combat!" he shouted into the command interface. "Medical teams to the arena immediately." The arena master looked up, all 6 eye stalks focused on Krosoth with obvious confusion. "But Commander, according to the sacred combat protocols." "Do it now!" Alarms blared throughout the arena as medical personnel rushed toward the increasingly pathetic scene. Gilarax was on one knee, his magnificent battle armor stained with a combination of his own phosphorescent blood and whatever that brown liquid was that the human kept drinking between bouts of combat evasion. Murphy, for his part, looked marginally improved. The physical exertion had apparently begun to counteract his hangover condition, and he was now standing relatively straight, breathing hard but otherwise intact. "Hey, we calling it?" "Good call, man. Your guy looks like he needs some water or whatever you folks drink." "Electrolytes, maybe?" The Marine approached Gilarax with what appeared to be genuine concern. "No hard feelings, big fella. You've got some serious moves. If I hadn't been, constantly falling out of the way, you totally would have wrecked me." Gilarax, the blood rinker, the void scourge, destroyer of the Paxian horde, stared at the human with a mixture of bewilderment and growing respect. "You fight with no technique I recognize. No patterns, no weaknesses to exploit. What? It is as if you harness chaos itself." Murphy laughed, then winced and pressed his fingers against his temples. "Nah, man. Just really bad decision-making the night before a major intergalactic incident. My commanding officer is going to have my ass when I get back. Speaking of which," he pulled out his communication device again, "let me just check in and let them know we're all good here. No interstellar war today. Everyone's cool." Krosoth arrived in the arena just as Murphy finished his call. The human looked up and extended his hand in what their cultural briefings had identified as a greeting gesture. "Staff Sergeant Jack Murphy, United Earth Marine Corps. You must be the boss around here. Thanks for calling it off before someone got seriously hurt. Your boy Gilarax is no joke." Krosoth reluctantly extended one of his lower arms to complete the handshake ritual. "Commander Krosoth, Vazrith Imperial Fleet. I have questions, Staff Sergeant Murphy." "Shoot." "Well, not literally, figure of speech. Was this planned? Your condition? Your apparent lack of preparation? Your tactics?" Murphy looked genuinely confused for a moment, then burst out laughing. "Wait, you think this was some kind of 4D chess move? That Earth Command sent me here drunk off my ass as some kind of strategic masterstroke? Oh man, that's hilarious." He wiped a tear from his eye. "No, dude. This was a complete disaster from start to finish on our end. I was literally the only person in the vicinity of the launch bay when your challenge came through. Everyone else important was at some diplomatic function on Mars." Krosoth's sensory ridges flattened against his skull. "You expect me to believe that your military leadership entrusted the fate of your species to, he gestured at Murphy's attire, a hungover Marine in a Hawaiian shirt and cargo shorts? Yeah, pretty much. Look. Here's what my commander just told me." Murphy held up his device, showing a text message that read, "Murphy, you absolute disaster. Stall them until the real delegation arrives. Don't start a war. See? Total cluster on our end. But hey, it worked out. Nobody died. Your guy's going to be okay once he gets those fluids balanced, and the actual diplomats will be here in about an hour to sort everything out properly. As Murphy spoke, Gilarax had regained enough of his composure to stand, towering over both of them. His bioluminescent patterns had shifted from battle-ready purple to a thoughtful blue-green. "Commander Krosoth," rumbled the Grand Executor, "I have faced the human in combat. While the battle was unorthodox, I must report my findings." Krosoth braced himself for the humiliation to come. "Proceed, Grand Executor." "The humans are not to be underestimated," Gilarax declared, surprising them both with his solemnity. "Their apparent weakness conceals a profound strength. Their chaotic nature grants them adaptability beyond our comprehension. Even in a compromised state, this warrior evaded my most lethal attacks through means I cannot explain. Were he at full capacity?" He left the sentence unfinished, but the implication hung in the air like a plasma charge. Murphy looked genuinely embarrassed. Come on, you had me dead to rights like 6 different times. I just got lucky." "There is no such thing as luck," Gilarax responded. "There is only that which we understand and that which we do not yet understand. You humans exist in the realm of the latter." Krosoth's tactical mind was racing. If a single impaired human could survive combat with their mightiest warrior, what would a full-scale conflict bring? The implications were too terrible to contemplate. "Staff Sergeant Murphy," he said carefully, "perhaps while we await your diplomatic delegation, you might join me for refreshments? There is much I would like to learn about your species." Murphy brightened immediately. "Now you're talking my language. Got anything for this headache? And maybe something to eat?" Fighting for the fate of humanity really works up an appetite. 90 Earth minutes later, Krosoth sat in stunned silence as Murphy finished his 5th plate of nutrient capsules, which the human had declared taste like spicy cardboard, but in a good way, and continued his explanation of human military tactics.
"So anyway, that's why you never, ever get between a Marine and his coffee. This one time in basic training, Drill Sergeant Patel tried to confiscate Bailey's thermos, and next thing you know, 3 obstacle courses were on fire and someone's underwear was flying from the flagpole. Nobody could ever prove who did it, but we all knew." Krosoth tried to reconcile this anecdote with his understanding of military discipline. "And this behavior was rewarded?" "Oh, hell no, we all did push-ups until our arms nearly fell off. But Patel never touched anyone's coffee again, so, mission accomplished." The Grand Executor Gilarax, now partially recovered thanks to the medical team's efforts, leaned forward with intense interest. "So your military training actively encourages individual initiative, even when it contradicts direct orders?" "Not exactly," Murphy said, taking a long sip of the Vizrathi hydration solution, which he had mixed with some sort of powder from a packet labeled Hangover Helper Extreme Formula. "It's more like there's the official way of doing things and then there's how things actually get done. We call it embracing the suck or tactical creativity, depending on who's filling out the paperwork afterward." Krosoth exchanged glances with Gilarax. This matched perfectly with what their limited intelligence on humans had suggested. They were organizational paradoxes, simultaneously hierarchical and chaotic, disciplined and innovative, reckless and calculating. "Staff Sergeant, what would have happened if we had proceeded with our original invasion plan?" Krosoth asked, unable to contain his curiosity. Murphy's expression turned serious for the first time since his arrival. "Hard to say for sure, but based on our history, you guys would have won some battles, probably big ones. You've got superior tech, biology that's frankly terrifying, and that whole conquering 97 star systems resume. Impressive stuff." He paused to finish his drink before continuing. "But here's the thing about humans, we are really, really bad at accepting defeat. The worse things get, the more creative we become. And not in the let's write poetry about our feelings kind of creative, more the let's see if we can turn Jupiter into a bomb kind of creative." "You would destroy your own solar system?" Gilarax asked, clearly disturbed. "Probably not," Murphy shrugged, "but the fact that someone would definitely suggest it, and that someone else would actually run the numbers to see if it was feasible, that's humanity in a nutshell." Murphy grinned. "We're basically cockroaches with nuclear physics degrees and a concerning relationship with caffeine. Before Krosoth could respond, the communications officer's voice came through the shipwide system. "Commander, the human diplomatic vessel has arrived and requests permission to dock. They apologize for the delay, and they have sent a gift basket." Murphy laughed. "That'll be Ambassador Takagi. She never shows up anywhere without bringing food. It's like her diplomatic superpower." Permission granted, Krosoth responded automatically, his mind still processing everything Murphy had shared. He turned back to the Marine. "Your diplomats bring food to first contact situations? Food is universal, man. Everybody eats. Breaking bread together goes back to the dawn of human civilization as a way to establish peaceful intent. Also, Takagi's gift baskets are legendary. Her spicy chocolate cookies could probably prevent World War if it ever comes to that." 20 minutes later, Krosoth found himself in the ship's formal reception chamber, watching as a small delegation of humans in immaculate uniforms entered. At their head walked a petite woman with a serene expression and penetrating eyes that seemed to take in every detail of the room at once. "Ambassador Yumi Takagi of Earth," she introduced herself with a slight bow. "Thank you for your patience, Commander Krosoth. I bring greetings from Earth government and a sincere desire to resolve our misunderstanding peacefully." She gestured to a large container being wheeled in by her assistants, along with a small sampling of Earth's cuisine as a gesture of goodwill. Murphy, who had cleaned himself up somewhat in preparation for the diplomatic meeting, gave the ambassador a crisp salute. "Staff Sergeant Murphy reporting, ma'am. No interstellar incidents to report. Made friends with the big guy with the claws." Ambassador Takagi's composed expression flickered briefly with what might have been amusement. "So I have heard, Staff Sergeant. Your unconventional approach to first contact combat has been noted in your file. Is that good or bad, ma'am? Let's call it pending evaluation, shall we?" She turned back to Krosoth. "Commander, I understand there's been a significant misunderstanding between our species. Perhaps we could discuss this more productively over refreshments? I have brought some items that our xenobiologists believe would be compatible with Vizrai physiology." Krosoth, still reeling from the day's events, simply nodded. 2 hours later, the future of interstellar relations had taken an unexpected turn. The formal reception chamber had transformed into something Murphy described as part diplomatic summit, part buffet line, part show and tell. The Vizrathi officers, initially suspicious of the human offerings, had been cautiously sampling various Earth foods under the careful supervision of both species' medical teams. The surprise hit of the evening was something called hot sauce, which activated pleasure receptors in Vizrathi taste organs that they hadn't known existed. Gilarax had already requested the formula for study, claiming it had potential military applications, while pouring it liberally on his third serving of what the humans called tortilla chips. Ambassador Takagi and Krosoth sat slightly apart from the others, engaged in serious conversation. "So you see, Commander, our species has never actually engaged in interstellar conquest. We have barely established colonies on a handful of worlds within our own system. Your intelligence about our advanced defenses and tactical brilliance is frankly giving us far too much credit." Krosoth's cognitive dissonance was reaching critical levels. "But the counter-resonance wave that disabled our stealth cruisers? A complete accident," Takagi confirmed. "The technician spilled coffee on an experimental scanner that was never supposed to be activated. The resulting power surge created an effect nobody could have predicted or can currently reproduce. Our scientists are still arguing about whether it violated several laws of physics. And yet," Krosoth mused, "your Staff Sergeant Murphy survived combat with our greatest warrior while suffering from voluntary biochemical impairment." Takagi's diplomatic composure cracked slightly as she tried not to smile. Murphy is unusually lucky, even by human standards. But his experience isn't entirely unique. Humans often perform unpredictably well in crisis situations, especially when operating on instinct rather than planning. It served us well during our more turbulent history. Krosoth looked across the room, where Murphy was enthusiastically teaching a group of junior Vizrathi officers some kind of hand-slapping ritual that apparently had significance in human recreational activities. Your species is puzzling, Ambassador Takagi. By all objective measures, the Vizrathi Empire should be able to conquer Earth with minimal effort. And yet, after today's events,
I find myself oddly reluctant to recommend such a course of action to the High Council. Because you suspect we might accidentally blow up the universe trying to defend ourselves? Takagi asked with surprising candor. The thought had occurred to me. Yes. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment before Takagi spoke again. Commander, may I propose an alternative to invasion, one that might benefit both our species? I'm listening. Alliance. Cultural exchange. Trade. The Vizrathi Empire clearly has much to teach humanity about interstellar travel, governance of multiple worlds, and advanced technology. In return, we offer unpredictability, innovation, new perspectives, and hot sauce, Krosoth added, watching as another of his officers discovered the condiment with visible delight. And hot sauce, Takagi agreed with a smile. Plus, about 1,000 variations of coffee that won't short out your ship systems. Usually. Krosoth considered for precisely 12.7 seconds before responding. The High Council will require convincing. They had their hearts set on adding Earth to our collection of subjugated worlds. Perhaps we could arrange a visit? Let them experience humanity firsthand. I promise we will keep Staff Sergeant Murphy away from the proceedings. That would be advisable, Krosoth agreed. His gaze drifted back to where Murphy was now attempting to teach Jillarax something called the electric slide, with predictably chaotic results. Against all probability and his own better judgment, Krosoth found himself feeling something dangerously close to optimism about this bizarre new species. The humans were chaotic, unpredictable, and borderline incomprehensible, but perhaps that was exactly what the carefully structured and methodical Vizrathi Empire needed after millennia of unchallenged dominance. Epic conclusion. Very well, Ambassador Takagi, Krosoth said. I will recommend to the High Council that we pursue diplomatic relations with humanity. But I must warn you, they will test your species. They will probe for weaknesses, evaluate your potential threat level, and attempt to manipulate you for their own advantage. Takagi's eyes sparkled with something that might have been mischief. I understand completely, Commander. And in the spirit of friendship, I should probably warn you as well about what we are sending Murphy as our cultural attaché to the Vizrathi homeworld. Krosoth's secondary heart skipped a beat.